It's 12 o'clock noon on Wednesday, which means it's time for Rip It Live on Facebook, where we talk about everything fast pitch, from college recruiting to high school happenings, to the latest in Rip It equipment and paraphernalia, where you, the softball community, can see why more coaches and players are turning to Rip It for their softball needs. We have an exciting show planned today. We have a special guest, hitting guru, and Coach John Denny will be joining us. Coach Denny will be coming to us from the deserts of Arizona. So
Yes.
we are welcoming Coach Denny to the program. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me back, guys.
Good to have you. Before we get to Coach Denny, we've got a few things to go over. Last week we had our product giveaway, and we'd like to congratulate Melissa Moody on winning the Rip It backpack. So it was a beautiful backpack, fits all your Rip It equipment, and Melissa Moody was fortunate enough to win, and she will be receiving the backpack product. And this week, we are back with our Fielder's Mask giveaway. Again, great mask. We had conversations about this a few weeks ago. The importance of pitchers and corners wearing the Rip It fielding mask to prevent concussions, broken noses, any facial lacerations, and those are serious things. And as you know, with the big study on concussions these days, it's important and crucial for players to be properly equipped, and there's no better fielder's mask, in my opinion, than the Rip It mask, which we're giving away this week as a prize giveaway. So again, how do you win? Share a video, tag a parent or coach, make sure it's public so we can see it, and the winner will be announced on next week's show. Okay. As well, we want to give a warm welcome from me and Coach Wes Pollock. Of course, I'm going to be your host today. A warm welcome to the Rip It family, the Tennessee Shooting Stars out of Knoxville, Tennessee, who just outfitted their girls with 11 girls' Rip It uniforms, and they look great. So we congratulate the Knoxville Stars, Shooting Stars, for joining the Rip It team and outfitting their girls with 11 new uniforms. And again, please, comment with any questions you have. We'll answer them live as they come in. If you're just joining us, don't forget to share this video, tag a parent, tag a coach, and be eligible to win, again, this great fielder's mask. Okay, great prize. All right, we will now move on to Coach Denny. I call him the Stormtrooper for various reasons, but Coach Denny, Coach Denny has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to hitting and general knowledge in terms of the sport of softball and baseball. And we're going to talk to him about various number of things, but we're going to start out first, John, by talking about various elements of being a successful hitter. And these discussions might also counter over to being a successful pitcher, as we'll do a point-counterpoint type of discussion. Let's talk about one of the pitcher's most effective and successful pitches, John, when they face hitters. And that's especially in the fast pitch, that's the element of the rise ball. When a pitcher has a good rise ball, what does the hitter need to do to adjust their mechanics and approach to successfully combating the rise ball pitch?
I think that's a great point. The rise ball is something, especially in softball, it's a devastating pitch if a pitcher spins it right. And it's for a hitter, I'm a hitter, I love to hit, and that thing looks so big and juicy coming in. And by the time it gets to me, the pitcher's fooled me, and they make me swing at a ball. So for a hitter, from a hitting standpoint, your mechanics have to be really fundamentally sound, without any collapse or anything in your shoulder, your barrel of your bat, to hit the rise ball. Or you've got to learn an extreme amount of discipline to lay off the rise ball, which is hard to do.
There's two elements of rise ball I've seen over the years. There's one that pretty much starts at the letters and sort of at the ends up at your shoulders. And then there's the one that sort of starts off, maybe at the knees, ends up at the chest level. So one forcing a swing and miss probably on the higher type of rise ball, the other one almost forcing a called strike.
Yes.
Are there different approaches to each one, or similar type approaches?
Well, I think what's really important is your pitcher as a hitter, and whatever you can do. Obviously, at the higher levels, there's going to be video, there's going to be scouting reports on the pitchers. At the younger levels, you might be seeing this pitcher for the first time in a tournament, warming up on the side, and it's really important for a hitter as early as you can, as soon as you see your pitcher starting to throw on the, on the bullpen or on the side of the field, to start understanding her release point and what she's throwing for balls or strikes. If she's starting that rise ball low and it's ending up to be a strike, then you're going to have to make adjustments as a hitter to combat that, or you're gonna fail. And if she's throwing the rise ball, starting it as a strike, but it's ending up as a ball, you have to learn how to lay off that. And that's something I think that a lot of hitters don't do well nowadays, is prepare themselves for that pitcher.
Okay. Now, I guess the rise ball, from what I've seen, is really a big strikeout pitch, right? It's that big pitch when you're 0-2, 1-2. When you want to get the K, the pitcher wants to get the K, or get a pop up maybe in the infield or something. Obviously, when you're hitting a high pitch, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, it's a pitcher that sets that pitch up well. Even a good hitter that has a good hitting plan and a good hitting approach. It's hard to lay off that high rise ball. That's a ball, and you can freeze a good hitter also, as a pitcher, by starting that ball low, especially if you've got downward moving stuff like a changeup or a drop ball. If your release point is in the same kind of box, and you've got the same tempo in your windup, and you're not slowing down or speeding up for certain pitches, you can really fool a hitter and buckle them at the knees, because they're going to think that pitch is low, and then it's going to come in for a strike.
Right. And again, the key on successfully hitting a rise ball is trying to get on top as a hitter, right? Elevating your swing, not collapsing, your elbow or back shoulder. Right.
Yeah, and I actually have a video queued up if you guys want to look at that, of a hitter that does just that. Um, the when it comes to hitting, when that barrel drops, uh, it's and there's any collapse, like you're saying, in that back shoulder or in the barrel, it creates a hole in the swing up in that upper strike zone.
Oh.
And whenever you guys are ready, I can pull that video up and scroll through it.
Yeah, I think we're trying to get it ready, but it's not quite there yet. So we may go on to a couple other topics and return to the rise ball video.
Yeah. Cool.
Once technical things come up. Let's talk about hitting counts and philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a number of coaches, whether it be high school, travel, college even, because I've seen enough college coaches, who sort of, have philosophy: take the first pitch, take 2-0, take 3-1. Not everybody, but some, hoping that the pitcher's going to draw a walk, you're going to get a more favorable count, versus, aggressively going after those hitters type counts. It's 2-0, 3-1. First pitch is in every count. Sometimes are the best pitches you see, because the pitcher wants to get ahead, right, in the count. So they start you off with a strike. What's your philosophy on that?
I think it. I'm a real big student of the game, and preparation is like my number one thing. And as a parent, as a coach, I just start watching, what's going on, and feeling how the game's going, and seeing what a pitcher is doing. And if I'm watching my opposing pitcher, and they're not on that day, and they're not hitting that strike zone early, I'd be more inclined to let my hitters take early in the count, especially if she hasn't thrown a strike in a warm-up pitch. If the pitcher is really on and she's just getting ahead of us over and over again, then we need to adjust our plans as hitters, and we need to go in there and jump on balls that are over the plate early in the strike zone. I think hitting plans, going really deep, you can go into different kinds of hitting plans, but if you want to just simplify it, the coach is always saying, you look for your pitch. What does that mean? And I think looking for your pitch as a hitter, as you get into the higher levels, we call it an 800 pitch, which is going to be a ball that's in a box about, maybe 6 to 8 inches wide. So a ball that I can hit hard 8 out of 10 times is going to be my 800 pitch. And I'm going to be looking for that pitch early in the count. If my pitcher's hitting, black on the corners and staying away from me, and she's really just pinpointing her ball, it's important to stick to that plan. If I have a pitcher up there that's, just trying to throw a strike or get the ball over, I want to be, aggressive with anything over the plate, not necessarily an 800 pitch. So I, I think depending on your pitcher and the situation and how they're throwing is gonna be dependent upon how you attack. One thing, real quick, I use I use this a lot with my students is if you're in a war, you're not going to attack, a tank with a pistol. You're going to attack a tank with a rocket or something like that, or a bomb. So you have to have when you're going head to head against a pitcher, you want to make sure your strike package as a hitter or as a pitcher against a hitter is for that hitter and for that pitcher, and especially as a coach, you have to really understand your opponent and study and prepare.
Yeah, I agreed, and conversely, as a pitcher, I mean, you want to always get ahead, because if you get ahead in the count, you obviously can throw your pitch. I always have philosophy with the pitchers I coach, you get ahead throwing strikes, you get them out throwing balls.
Right.
And you can do that when the hitter's on the defensive. So obviously the favorable counts for a hitter, like I said, are 2-0, 3-1. Even 3-2 to a degree, because something's coming that's going to be decent. But if you're behind 0-2 or 1-2, you're on the defensive. You don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And statistically, it's been proven even in Major League Baseball that the batting averages are 200 points minimum higher when a count is 2-0 or 3-1 versus 0-2 and 1-2. So your job as a pitcher is to get ahead and take control of the at bat. I mean, it's a battle between two entities, and they're both trying to take control of the at bat. The question is which one's going to be more successful, right?
Absolutely.
So, go ahead. Like I said, I find that, like I said, if the pitcher falls behind, obviously the hitter becomes the favorite in terms of the success rate, and obviously vice versa if you're constantly battling behind 0-2 and 1-2.
Yeah, and I think absolutely that's correct. And the thing that we need to see out of our young players nowadays is that sense of urgency in every pitch and every count. And there's never a time when you're competing in and it's a team sport, but when you get into that pitcher and hitter matchup, it's a one-on-one. And sometimes the confidence of the player, whether it's the pitcher or the hitter, and the emotions of the game have a lot to do with their mental approach in those situations. And so it's really important, like as a coach, as a player, as teammates, to always keep that energy level up and try to steal that momentum from the other team. I always talk about, you want to be a problem solver and not a problem finder. And if there's so many things that we can look at out there, my kid's not playing, it's hot or whatever. There's so many problems, but we want to be, as softball players, we want to be problem solvers, and we want to go out there. And if we always have that approach, that mental approach, if we're doing our preparation and we're trying to figure out how to be successful, it's going to be a lot easier to have a good day out there and to either pitch well or hit well or just compete. But I don't see a lot of students and a lot of players sometimes taking those situations seriously enough. One of the things that I tell my daughter is every pitch, every swing, every time you warm up, it's like it's the World Series. It doesn't matter if you're playing a team that no one's heard of or you're playing the defending state champions. Like, you approach every time you pick up that softball like it's the World Series, and you're never going to be disappointed.
That's very true, and we have a comment from the Dr. Phillips softball suggesting that his advice and his strategy to his players is when the pitcher's in the zone, he's advising his players to attack the ball. When the pitcher's struggling behind the count, then they're taking more pitches, obviously, to hopefully gain a walk. And I would pretty much agree with that. If the
Absolutely.
pitcher's constantly if pitcher's pounding the zone, then you're going to get a pitch to hit.
Absolutely.
And so you should be up there hacking. And if the pitcher is struggling walking 2 or 3 in front of your next hitter, then I'd probably be taking as well, because until the pitcher shows they have control. Plus the umpire, and I'm sure you found this too, The umpire can give a pitcher a friendly strike zone if they control, but if they don't show control, they're not giving them anything close to the plate.
Yeah, the umpire has a huge bearing on the game. I've had teams where we have our hitting plan. We're looking for a certain strike. We practice it all week or maybe for a month, and the umpire um, does not call that strike, or maybe is calling another strike, and now we have to totally adjust our plan. So just because the rules say that a strike is this doesn't mean that the umpire is necessarily going to be calling that a strike on that day. Whatever the umpire is calling a strike is going to be a strike. So you have to get in there and prepare to make adjustments to your plan and be aggressive. Even if you know that's not a strike, it's either, am I going to strike out looking because it's not a strike but the umpire is calling it, or am I going to go up there as a hitter attacking that pitch?
Right. Are you a believer in pitching matchups versus hitters? So I know you see a lot in Major League Baseball, but a little bit in softball, but not as much. But there are opportunities to do it. So, for example, a lefty hitter's coming to the plate. If you've got a lefty pitcher in the bullpen or reliever or another pitcher, would you go to that lefty pitcher to face the lefty hitter late in the game, or in a situation that dictates that the pitcher may have an advantage?
Absolutely. I mean, there's pitching and hitting matchups are part of the game, and they always talk about the game within the game. And there are, you know, so many hitters that have different hitting styles and hitting approaches. I know there's lefty hitters that hit lefty pitchers very well, and then vice versa. And if you've got, I've seen the weakest of pitchers take down the strongest of hitters because they don't throw that fast, or they, lob them in there or something like that. So definitely, like, kind of goes back to the thing I was talking about with the preparation. Like, as a coach, as a player, as you prepare for your battle of the game, know your opponent and know what tactic is going to work against them, in your opinion, leading up to it, and then go from there. I put in pitchers before. I knew that the batter was going to crush my pitcher, and you can take out that pitcher and put a different approach, a different style in, and that pitcher can be very, very successful. So absolutely.
Yeah, because I've got a few examples where I know I utilize it when I can. If I've got a lefty, I like to use her where possible. I think it's great if every team has a lefty, because hitters just don't see that many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're facing a fastball hitting team, and your best pitcher is a hard throwing righty or lefty. Okay, do you go with your best and match power versus power, or do you throw a curve into the equation? And I pardon the pun by using that statement, and throw, let's say, a junk ball or off speed pitcher against a big swinging team, potentially to have their opponents off balance, out on their front foot, and overswing. I've seen success sometimes when I've taken, maybe a softer throwing pitcher who has more off-speed stuff, and pitcher against a big swinging team, and I get a lot of pop-ups and a lot of fly balls. Occasionally you get a lot of balls that leave the yard too. But sometimes, conversely, I've seen hard throwing pitchers who are very dominant and go against good fastball hitting teams, and they get ripped pretty good too.
Yeah.
So what's your inkling to do in that situation?
Well, I mean, a great example was last night. My daughter was pitching against a team, and they're a fastball hitting team. They have short swings, and every time she left the ball over the plate, I mean, it got hit. And every time she established her off speed early, and stayed away, using the curve, using the changeup, her rise ball, and pitches like that, she was successful. So the watching those hitters as a pitcher, that's another thing. Like, pitchers nowadays, a lot of coaches are calling the pitches for the pitcher, and which is, as long as the catcher, the pitcher, and the coach are all on the same page. I mean, they do it in college. I understand it. I get it. The thing that I'm seeing with the younger pitchers nowadays is a lack of learning how to pitch. So by having the pitches called for them all the time, they don't actually know what pitches that they can throw in certain situations to get those hitters out. So It's kind of a fine line. You want to control the game a little bit, and you want to call the pitches, but also, when you have a chance, let your pitchers call their own game, throw their own game, learn how to pitch. It's different from when me and you were kids. Like we would get up there on the mound and we'd throw, and I knew my
Yeah,
fastball was going to get this guy out. I knew my curveball
right.
was going to get this guy out. Nowadays, sometimes that pitcher might feel like she can throw this pitch in that situation, and the coach calls something else, and it causes a little conflict. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I think it comes down to trusting your catcher too, and your catcher
absolutely.
call an appropriate game. But you're right, the game's got a little robotic with pitchers just following the cue and not really thinking what they should do in a certain situation because it's been all called for them. I tend to, as a coach, let my catchers call games if I'm confident that the game they're calling consistently makes sense.
Absolutely.
Um, we play showcases, I'm more apt to let catchers call the games because, it's a more open format and college coaches are watching and they wanna see the catchers take control of the games but if we're in sort of big end tournaments, depending on the game's going, I might jump in and start calling a little bit. But there's a time and a place for, I think, both. I think there's a fine balance, like you said, between the two. Because I think catchers and pitchers both have to develop baseball and softball savvy for the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I mean, I remember, like I said, I remember being in situations where if I had a drop ball pitcher and I needed a double play or a ground ball to get out of an inning, I'd go to the bullpen for the drop ball pitcher and hopefully get a ground ball versus a
Yeah.
fly ball. Because if I got to run around third base with less than 2 outs, I don't want any ball into the air into the outfield. I want the ball
Yeah.
hit on the ground, right? And to get out of an inning or get out of a situation. So I think matchups are important, and if you're fortunate enough as a team to have two, three, sometimes even four pitchers that you can go to, then I think you should utilize them and give them confidence that, they have a role to play in a certain situation.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Matchups, man, I totally agree with all that, dude. It's huge. And I think as a player too, we have to learn, like a lot of these younger players, they can increase their success by changing their classification of a matchup, right? So, like if I'm a fastball pitcher and I'm always throwing hot red, and I've got a team that's got short swings, um, you know, learn how to throw off speed, learn how to, nibble on the corners and not just go heat all the time, because eventually good hitters are going to catch up to that heat. And if you're a slower spinner and you spin the ball a lot, you know, hitters get smarter as you get older, and they'll learn how to lay off those pitches. So you're going to have to learn, if you're always throwing soft, you're going to have to learn to mix in some hard stuff to keep hitters, like you said earlier, keeping a hitter off balance
mhm,
is the best thing that you can do as a pitcher. And as
right.
a hitter, um, not letting that pitcher get you off balance is something that you want to always be working hard and striving for.
Right. So if I'm a pitcher's parent, I'm also asking the coach what his philosophy is on calling pitches, because I do want my daughter to learn the game. So she should have the opportunity at some points to call her own pitches or have the catcher call her pitches, good or bad, so that she can develop as a player. That's a
Yeah.
good segue. We've got a couple minutes left with you, John, so I just want to hit on to this pitching philosophy. I used to be when I coached baseball, I coached the pitchers as well. I sort of moved that sort of knowledge into softball in terms of mental preparation and strategies and educating them on the game and how to pitch. I leave the mechanical stuff to the pitching coaches, but I take my acumen and provide it for softball pitchers. But I'll give you a few points you can jump in. We talked about getting ahead in the count, proven fact that pitchers are more successful when they're pitching 0-2, 1-2, 2-2 than when they're pitching 3-0, 3-1, or 2-0. I think you would agree with that. We talked about that.
Hmm.
I also go tell when I go to Mountain for visits, I tell the pitchers, you gotta have ice in your veins. You gotta be numb, no negative body language. You can't show the opponent that you're weak out here. You gotta face adversity, face stress, right, head on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I call it a pit bull mentality, I tell my pitchers. You have to have a pit bull mentality in the circle. You thrive under pressure when confronted, especially if you're a reliever or a closer coming in to protect the lead late in the game, or tying runs on base, winning runs on base, and you've got to get 1 or 2 outs to get out of this. You got to have that, like a way to call it, ice in the veins, no emotion. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A big one I tell all my players is, I'm a big history buff, and the Roman legion used to wear red tunics underneath their armor. So as the enemy they're fighting against is slashing at them with swords, they can't tell they're bleeding because the blood mixes in with the red. And a boxer can go head to head for round after round after round, and as soon as one of them cuts the other one, there's that sense of adrenaline rush in the other one to attack and press on. So you're absolutely right. You do not want to ever show your opponent any weakness. You want to be tough. You got to have the ice in your veins at all times. That bulldog mentality all the time. And if you can approach that, especially like you're talking about pitching, when you see a pitcher walk around the circle and come back to the rubber and address the mound, those are the times where that pitcher needs to figure out little catchphrases in their mind to get that mentality, to get tough,
Right.
and have that little time in between pitches. Instead of rushing to the next pitch, take a deep breath, settle yourself down, look at your batter swinging on deck, kind of get that swing in your mind and prepare for the next batter that's coming up. Refocus, and then when you step on that rubber and you're getting ready to pitch, that ice should be flowing through your veins and get ready to attack.
Right, agreed. We talked about this, mixing up pitchers, keeping hitters off balance, changing the eyesight, up and down, move the ball around, mixing up speeds. Don't be predictable in your pitching pattern, right? Don't let them zone in, knowing your first pitch is down the middle of every pitch. You throw a change up on every third pitch. You got to keep mixing up, keep re-strategizing during the course of the game to keep the hitters off balance. Because like I said, the key to getting hitters out is not being predictable. You've got to keep them off balance and keep them guessing.
Yes.
I've told pitchers too, you got to have a short memory. You have a great outing.
Yes.
You have the great outing. You can't dwell on that the next time you're out there. If you're thinking about it, you're not going to pitch effectively your next time out. So if you're going to be successful in this game as a pitcher, you've got to have a short memory, right?
Yes.
And I always tell when we're driving, we're looking out the front window. We don't look so much out of the rearview mirror. Maybe occasionally.
Yep.
But most of the time, we're looking out of the front window because we're looking ahead. We're not looking behind. And that's sort of the metaphor I sort of give my pitchers as well. And lastly, and before we probably have to say bye to you, in terms of the questions, preserving your arm maintenance, stretching exercises, proper warm-ups, weight training. Don't overthrow and be overused in your high school or travel ball seasons. Smart coaches develop a pitching staff, not one pitcher. If you're fortunate to have 2, 3, or 4 pitchers, use them all, different roles. Your best pitcher can still be your ace, right? But you don't have to be your entire pitching staff. And if you're the pitcher, a pitcher's parent, check your ego at the door. Know that you'll be pitching in big games for your team, but you don't have to pitch in every game. And I think the results of that strategy will be a long-term career and hopefully a long-term college career without any injury. And that's what we're trying to do here. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, those are our views, John and I, on both hitting and pitching. I'm hoping you enjoyed all the knowledge we brought forth and raised questions. And if you have any questions, comments, please send them through. We'll be happy to try and answer them, whether it be this show or perhaps even to the next show. We can go back and take a look. But we certainly want you to do that. We certainly invite your participation. Tag a parent, tag a coach. You're eligible to win a prize. So stay involved, participate a lot. We hope to bring you a lot of good information. Remember, moms, Rip It has a private Facebook group just for you. I hope we'll see you there. Just search Softball Mom Squad. Click the link in the comments below. And we thank you for joining us. Please like the comment and share it and promote the growing sport of softball. And as we move into our final stages, it's time for Rip It High School Heroes. It was a shorter week than normal for our high school heroes because of the spring break, but we've got a few names and a few activities to mention. Kayla Pera and Libby Rice both had home runs as Lake Mineola defeated Buckholz 9-7. Whitney Ellis of Montford Academy had a home run and 2 RBIs in Montford's 9-7 win. Skylar Rayston, Bailey Bates, and Maddie Wicker had 2 hits each as East Ridge defeated Forest 10-2. And Maddie Wicker also pitched a complete game, striking out 10 batters. So nice job, Maddie and crew. Lexi King went the distance in the circle and pitched a solid game in leading the Windermere Prep Lady Lakers to a big 6-4 victory over Lake Highland. You know, that's always been a tough opponent for Windermere over the years. We also had an upset alert. Dr. Phillips loses their first game of the season to Lake Nona, 7-6. However, Dr. Phillips remains strong in the standings with a solid 10-1 record. So, you know, a little hiccup in the road for Dr. Phillips, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. Cameron and Carissa Orland led Olympia to a 4-3 victory over University. The Orland sisters combined to pitch 7 innings for the victory. The sister combination got it done in the circle. Cameron also chipped in offensively as well as Carissa with 2 hits apiece. So certainly a good day for siblings over at Olympia. And those are your high school heroes for the week. Remember, tag a parent, coach, share this video for the chance to win this awesome fielder's mask. Again, a necessary component for pitchers, third baseman, even first baseman, hot corners, again, to prevent any kind of serious injury, and they look really good. And again, check the ego at the door. Okay, it's okay to wear them. You'll see more college pitchers doing it now because everyone wants to avoid injuries and have a good life after softball's over. Okay, next week we'll be announcing the winner of the face mask on our Rip It Live show on Facebook. But please join us next week, Wednesday at noon, when we will be covering college coach perspectives and what does an ideal player look like in a college coach's mind. So be sure to tune in for that. It'll be a great show, more information for you. And until then, this is Wes Pollock saying goodbye and thank you for joining us on Rip It Live on Facebook.